This is Part 2, Episode 3. A spacious dim greyish-coloured space appeared in front of Lin Dong. Numerous islands were suspended in this space. They were connected to one another and appeared just like a floating continent. This deep region of the treasure trove is different from the broken space outside, and the space inside was much more stable. The spatial crack lines that had occasionally occurred outside had completely disappeared in this place. Clearly, this region was under a special protection. Even after a long period of time, the space was still preserved rather perfectly. One could vaguely see some human figures flash by at this moment. It was likely that they were from those powerful empires who had arrived ahead of others. Almost all of them who possessed the qualification to enter this place were considered as the elite in this northwestern region. After all, even an expert at the Nirvana stage would face a grave threat to his life when he attempts to cross the Nirvana burning sky array. Some of those who were unlucky enough to meet a frightening existence like the Nirvana demon flame would likely meet their demise even if he was an expert who had stepped into a 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert. After all, not everyone possessed the mysterious stone talisman which could seal a mysterious item like the Nirvana demon flame. Hence, none of those who could cross the Nirvana burning sky array and arrive at the deep region of the treasure trove were simple individuals. All of them would definitely possess some skills. Lin Dong had just charged out of the Nirvana burning sky array when some human figures also came out from behind him. These people glanced at Lin Dong, who had paused while their eyes contained a hint of cautiousness. After which, they swiftly flew towards the island suspended in the sky in the distance. This ought to be the deep region of the ancient treasure trove. Let's go. We should also go and hunt for some treasures. Lin Dong rubbed his hands together. His eyes stared at the floating island before they turned a little fiery hot. After having entered the ancient treasure trove, he had yet to obtain any treasure other than borrowing the Pill River's strength to endure a Nirvana tribulation. In fact, he had not even obtained even a single treasure. Behind him, Little Flame's face revealed a smile while he nodded. After which, the two of them rushed out and hurried towards the distant floating island. According to what was recorded on the stone tablet, this Jiangang Alliance's true leaders are the 4 great mysterious sects. Below those 4 great sects are the guardian sects. Therefore, strictly speaking, that Heaven Cloud sect is merely one of the weaker protector sects. This is the reason why one could find its remains outside. Lin Dong was conveying to Little Flame some of the information he was aware of while the both of them swiftly flew across the sky. At the same time, his eyes were also sweeping over the deserted islands below. The top 5 of the 16 protector sects reside in the deep region of this ancient treasure trove. Though their inheritances cannot be compared with the 4 great mysterious sects, they are definitely no ordinary inheritances. It is likely that quite a number of people will be interested in it. Are we heading directly to the remains of the 4 great mysterious sects? Little Flame rubbed his head and said. If only it was so easy. Only after the 5 protector sects' remains are activated, would the inheritance of the 4 great mysterious sects be activated. Lin Dong smiled. After which, he raised his head and looked towards the southern part of the island. He said, if the information recorded on the stone tablet is correct, there should be a sect remains over there. Let's go and take a look first. Lin Dong chose to up his speed after he spoke. Soon after, Little Flame also closely followed behind him. The background of the sect remains that Lin Dong had mentioned was quite powerful. It was named the 8th-level sect and was ranked second amongst the protector sects. In fact, it was several times more powerful than the Heaven Cloud sect which they had met earlier. It could be considered a heavyweight remains. The sect which was the top-ranking protector sects was called Ground Martial sect. Only the 4 great mysterious sect could surpass it within this Jiangang alliance. However, Lin Dong also understood that in terms of might, the Ground Martial sect was indeed much stronger than the 8th-level sect. However, the information that he had obtained from the stone tablet did not indicate the location of the Ground Martial sect. If Lin Dong was to slowly search for it, he might very well end up empty-handed. In that case, it was better in principle to directly aim for this 8th-level sect. Since Lin Dong had a target in mind, Lin Dong and Little Flame did not pause along the way for anything that appeared to be like the remains of other sects. Hence, the two of them flew past countless number of floating islands after around half an hour before they finally reduced their speed gradually. Their attention were cast towards a distant island. That island was quite unique and there were no mountains on it. On a cursory glance, it seemed as though the entire island was an incomparably large and open ground. At the middle of the open ground was an enormous stone hall. An ancient feeling that seemed to be filled with the vicissitudes of life was emitted from within that enormous stone hall. Furthermore, there was quite a number of large stone pillars that were erected in that incomparably large open ground. These stone pillars were similarly emitting an ancient aura. If one was to observe it carefully, one would discover quite a number of deep handprints and footprints on it. It seemed as though that this place was once the training ground of this 8th-level sect. Lindong and Little Flame gradually approached this enormous stone hall. Only then did they discover that the surroundings of the stone hall already had quite a number of figures present. Clearly, they were the powerful empires and experts who had came to the deep region of this treasure trove. However, Lindong did not hide himself when he saw them. Instead, he directly descended from the sky before landing on a stone pillar with Little Flame. The appearance of two additional people attracted quite a number of gazes. From the looks of it, it seemed as though Lindong was not unfamiliar to them. Private conversations were vaguely emitted. This fellow is Lindong, who had defeated Shikuan from the Devil Cliff Empire, right? He is quite capable indeed. By relying on his low-rank empire background, he was actually able to reach this stage. He is truly not a simple person. Those private conversations were not overly hidden. Hence, quite a bit of it were transmitted into Lindong's ears. This caused him to feel a little surprised. It was likely that he did not expect that his victory over Shikuan would be spread so quickly. No wonder these experts did not reveal any disdain in their eyes when they were aware that he had come from the Great Yang Empire. All of them understood that one's birth was not important in this place. The most important thing was one's personal strength. If one wanted to stand out from the countless number of geniuses in this 100 Empire War, possessing a noble birth without ability would be useless. No one would even look at you with respect if that was the case. Those super sects would not be bothered about whether you come from a low-rank or high-rank empire. All they wanted were the true geniuses. Lindong's eyes swept over this enormous stone hall. After which, he understood a little of the situation in his heart. Other than those scattered individuals, there were three groups of people which attracted the most attention. Lindong was unfamiliar with these three groups of people. However, each of them were standing with their hands behind them right at the front. Moreover, these three peoples were also the only ones who did not give Lindong an additional glance. It was likely that they were all relatively arrogant people in their hearts. Of course, the powerful ripple that spread out from their bodies also allowed others to understand that they indeed possessed the qualification to be arrogant. 2 Yuan Nirvana stage. Lindong's eyes narrowed slightly as he paused on those three people. His heart involuntarily sighed emotionally. Those who could arrive at this deep region of the treasure trove were indeed no ordinary people. The fluctuating aura of these two were much stronger than Shikuan, who had just advanced into the 2 Yuan Nirvana stage. No wonder they did not glance much at Lindong. How could the sect remains here not possess any energy barrier? Little Flame spoke with some doubt while he stood beside Lindong. Lindong was also startled when he heard this. Only then did he discover that the surroundings of this 8th-level sect's remains actually did not possess the energy barrier that was just like that of the Dry Cloud sect. In this way, it seemed like this remains had actually been revealed in front of everyone's eyes without any defense. Something seemed a little wrong. Lindong knitted his brows slightly. He did not believe that this kind of sect remains would appear this calm. He immediately looked around him and also saw that quite a number of people possessed some hesitation and doubt within their eyes. It seemed that they were unable to tell just what the meaning of this scene in front of them was. Three groups of people with 2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts also looked at each other outside of the enormous hall. There was an eager expression in their eyes. It was likely that they had become a little impatient after having waited here for such a long time. Lindong silently observed this scene, but he did not open his mouth to speak. Lindong, under this place, there seems to be something. Little Martin's voice quietly sounded in Lin Dong's heart while he remained quiet. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes slightly. His eyes turned downwards without being noticed and stared at the potholed ground of the area that had been corroded over time. His heart softly asked, "What is it?" "I'm not certain. That ripple seems to be a little strange. However, you should be wary. It is impossible that such a place does not possess any defense." Little Martin hesitated for a moment. Clearly, he was unable to clearly define the thing. Lin Dong gently nodded. Yuan power slowly circulated within his body. Even his spiritual strength had quietly spread apart. He would be able to intervene with lightning-like speed the moment any unexpected situation occurs. Little Flame by the side had clearly sensed Lin Dong's action. Immediately, a red glow flashed across his eyes. His strong body leaned forward, appearing like a fierce tiger that was about to pounce onto its prey. While Lin Dong and Little Flame was treating the situation solemnly, the three groups of people right at the front were finally unable to control themselves as they began to move. One could see the 3-2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts took the lead to rush out before directly dashing towards the enormous stone hall. Swoosh! The speed of the three people were extremely fast. Within a blink, they had appeared within 1,000 feet of the enormous stone hall. However, just when their bodies were about to charge into a radius of 1,000 feet, Lin Dong suddenly shrunk his eyes. This was because even he sensed a kind of ripple that was being transmitted towards this enormous stone open ground at this moment. Bang! The entire open ground trembled suddenly within a split second. Immediately, the ground of the enormous stone hall at the front crumbled. A grayish-white colored large figure rushed out from underground with lightning speed. After which, it violently collided onto the three human figures with a speed that could not be detected with a naked eye. Boom boom boom. 3 muffled sound appeared. Those 3-2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts directly flew back in front of the many shocked eyes. Their bodies landed on the ground in a miserable manner and their feet directly rubbed a deep scar on the ground. After which, their eyes were also shocked as they looked at the ground in front of the enormous stone hall which had cracked apart. Grey dust permeated the place. A moment later, an enormous figure seemed to have woken from the ground. It carried a kind of ancient pressure while slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This is... Lin Dong looked at the enormous figure in the greyish dust and his eyes shrunk. Prehistoric demon dragon dog. Little Martin's solemn voice had also quietly sounded at this moment. The enormous stone square fractured. Dust permeated the air as a titanic shadow crawled out from below the ground. It carried a violent and menacing pressure that originated from the ancient times, as it slowly appeared on the spacious square. Prehistoric demon dragon dog. Lin Dong's expression twitched after hearing Little Martin's words. He had naturally heard of this ancient demonic beast. It was a ferocious demonic beast from ancient times. Although it had a weak dragon bloodline, its ferocity and strength far exceeded some of the demonic beasts with stronger dragon bloodlines. No one knew how powerful this prehistoric demon dragon dog was, but from the presence it gave off, it was definitely extraordinary. Under numerous surprised gazes, the dust in the air finally began to fall to the ground as the titanic being clearly imprinted itself in everyone's eyes. The size of the titanic beast ranged several hundreds of feet. The large beast was greyish-white in color and it had some vague and unusual lines on it. It had a hunting dog-like body but its head was that of a savage dragon. The 4 legs of the beast were standing outside of the enormous stone hall. It appeared just like a guardian beast that was protecting the hall behind. A storm-like fierce and brutal atmosphere repeatedly spread before it charged towards everyone. Lin Dong's eyes stared intently at this prehistoric demon dragon dog. However, he suddenly discovered that both of its eyes seemed to be void of any life. Instead, they were stiff and appeared just like deep empty holes. There were even waves after waves of a deathly aura vaguely spreading from it. This prehistoric demon dragon dog has been dead for a long time. No wonder I felt that its fluctuation was a little strange. Little Martin's voice also contained a little surprise. Dead? Lin Dong was startled for a moment. Although the interior of its body no longer contained any life force, it still possessed a remnant desire. It is likely that this prehistoric demon dragon dog is the guardian demonic beast of this 8th-level sect, and its task is to protect the sect. Even in death, its desire to protect the remains here. This kind of demon dragon dog might be incomparably fierce and brutal, but once it was tamed, it will be exceptionally loyal. Quite a number of sects in the ancient times used the prehistoric demon dragon dog to guard their sects. Little Martin explained. However, fortunately it is dead. Currently, the strength of this demon dragon dog is not even half of its peak strength. With our current lineup, it is not impossible to deal with it. If this thing was really still alive, it would be best for you to leave as soon as possible. Lindorm nodded slightly. This demon dragon dog might have emitted a shocking fluctuation, but it had not reached the point where it was sufficient to frighten them off. It was likely that with the flow of time, the strength within the demon dragon dog's body had been greatly exhausted. Although it still possessed a remnant will, it was no longer at its peak condition. It is actually a prehistoric demon dragon dog. Some exclamations were also emitted on this square while this thought flashed within their hearts. Clearly, little Martin and Lindorm were not the only ones who had recognized the origin of this thing. Humph, this demon dragon dog no longer possesses any life, and it is clearly dead. Even if it could still resist, it is not something worth worrying about. A 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert, who was the leader of a group, swept his eyes over the demon dragon dog and laughed coldly. Clearly, he had also discovered some clues. Everyone, let's attack together, finish off this demon dragon dog and unlock the remains of the 8th-level sect. Another 2-yuan Nirvana stage expert softly cried out. Although this demon dragon dog was dead, a skinny and dead camel was still larger than a horse. It was best to be a little cautious. The surrounding experts had clearly become somewhat eager when they heard the words of these two people. The remains of the 8th-level sect clearly possessed quite a great allure. Lindorm, this demon dragon dog is quite useful to you. Your heavenly crocodile bone spear possessed the remnant soul of the ancient heavenly crocodile. However, it needs an ancient bloodline to wake it up. Although that ancient heavenly scales halberd of yours possessed a faint dragon blood, it is still too weak. Even if you were to use it, the ancient heavenly crocodile that you end up summoning would likely only be able to fight with a 1-yuan Nirvana stage expert. It is not sufficient for the current situation which you are facing. However, if you are able to obtain the blood of this demon dragon dog and use it with the dragon blood in the ancient heavenly scales halberd, the heavenly crocodile soul fragment that you summon will be even more powerful. Lindorm nodded a little uncertainly when he heard little Martin's words. Following his entrance into this ancient treasure trove, he had also sensed some pressure. After all, he had already met 3 2-yuan Nirvana stage experts at this remains of the 8th-level sect alone. Just how many hidden experts would appear when he reached the 4 mysterious hall? If one wanted to contest for any treasures with these people, it was naturally best to have as many trump cards as possible. You should look for a suitable opportunity to attack. This demon dragon dog might be dead, but it is likely that other people would also be aware of just how precious its blood was. A fight might be unavoidable at that time. Lindorm nodded his head slightly. Even though there are 3 2-yuan Nirvana stage experts around, these people were not in the same group. Furthermore, with Lindorm's capability, it was likely that they would not dare to do anything against him. Attack! While Lindorm had placed his thoughts onto the blood of the demon dragon dog, a cry suddenly sounded from around the hall. After which, 3 2-yuan Nirvana stage experts rushed out at the same time. Fierce and powerful yuan power pillars shot out. They possessed a mountain-like weight as they ruthlessly struck at the demon dragon dog. After these 3 people led the attack, the surroundings experts also began to swiftly do so. Immediately, numerous powerful ripples erupted. The weakest amongst those who had arrived at this place was also a Nirvana stage expert. The force from their combined attack at this moment also caused Lindorm's brows to twitch involuntarily. Roar! The demon dragon dog suddenly roared towards the sky as it stared at the attacks which swarmed at it from every direction. Grayish-white colored powerful energy swept out from its body. After which, this energy directly collided with the many attacks. Boom boom boom. Low and deep explosive sounds sounded repeatedly over this spacious square. Numerous ripples also swept apart. Lindong's eyes calmly watched this scene. He knew that the demon dragon dog might be fierce and brutal, but since it had lost its life force, it would not be able to endure for long. This seemingly intense face-off was likely a temporary one. Furthermore, the 3-2 Nirvana stage experts were quite cunning. They only struck the weakest part of the demon dragon dog when they attacked. However, the three of them were obviously not people of the same group. All of them felt wary when they attacked. They were afraid of allowing the other parties to gain an advantage. In this way, it had undoubtedly caused the duration of the battle to be dragged on significantly longer. Although this situation allowed the demon dragon dog to endure for a longer period of time, its body, which was already nearing its limit, finally reached it in the face of the unending yuan power explosion. Its shriveled body exploded, revealing those grayish-white fresh. There were even fresh blood still present within it. Swoosh! The instant that the demon dragon dog had fallen onto the ground, the eyes of those 3-2 Nirvana stage experts brightened. They rushed out at almost the same time and grabbed at the dense white-colored bones of the demon dragon dog. All of them knew that the essence blood of such a demonic beast was hidden within the bone marrow. The three of them rushed out, and they had actually suddenly attacked each other while they were still in midair. Clearly, they intended to hinder the other parties. Lindong, do it! Little Martin's voice also suddenly sounded in Lindong's heart at this moment. The moment Little Martin's words sounded, Lindong's body suddenly rushed forward. His speed was extremely quick. Within a flash, he had already surpassed the 3-2 Nirvana stage experts who were fighting each other. The person who had suddenly appeared had clearly surprised those three fellows. Immediately, their expressions became a little ugly. Most of the people present knew that the demon dragon dog's ancient blood was extremely rare, and it was a good item to temper one's body with. However, none of them did anything. This was because they understood that they did not have the qualification to snatch anything in front of those 2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. However, this person who had suddenly appeared finally allowed them to come to a suddenly comprehension. There was actually still one person present who was not afraid of them. That person was Lindong. Humph! The expressions of the three of them were a little ugly. They let out a cold snort but did not throw any vicious words. Having heard quite a lot of rumors about Lindong, they had clearly treated Lindong as a person who was on the same level as them. Hence, the right path now was to rely on their own abilities. The three of them abandoned their fight with one another at this moment. One after another, they also followed Lindong when he landed on the corpse of the demon dragon dog. After which, they did not waste their breath and their hand broke a grayish-white bone. A suction force surged out from their palms in an attempt to suck out the ancient blood. From the way they saw it, even though Lindong had quite a strong fighting strength, he was after all only a 1 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. Lindong ought to be weaker than them in terms of such skill. Humph, brat, you are still a little too tender to snatch the food from in front of us. Although these three people did not say such words, the gloating expression in their eyes still revealed these information. Lindong merely smiled when he saw this. After which, he leaned forward in front of the eyes of those three. His hand slowly pressed onto a dense white bone. Immediately, his palm spun and a suction force suddenly swept out. Bang! The entire demon dragon dog's corpse trembled at this moment. After which, 3-2 Yuan Nirvana stage experts were stunned to see threads of black lines flashing past the densely white bones. Finally, they wildly gathered towards Lindong's hand. Within less than 10 seconds, those threads of black lines agglomerated into a cluster of black-colored blood. A powerful energy ripple spread from within the cluster of blood. The three of them looked at the half-a-head-large ancient blood in Lindong's hand. After which, they looked at the thumb-sized black-colored blood on theirs. Immediately, their expression had turned to one that was similar to a pig's liver. A black-colored blood cluster was suspended above Lindong's palm. A dragon roar and dog's bark that seemed to be vaguely filled with violence was emitted from within it. Furthermore, it also carried an ancient sensation within it. This was the ancient essence blood from the prehistoric demon dragon dog. Clearly, Lin Dong had basically sucked out all of the essence blood embedded within this demon dragon dog. A joy flashed across Lin Dong's eyes when he sensed the great strength of the prehistoric demon dragon dog's essence blood. Together with this demon dragon dog's essence blood, the ancient heavenly crocodile that he summoned would likely be exceptionally powerful. Lin Dong, aren't you a little too overbearing? At this moment, the 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts, with ugly expressions on their faces, finally could not endure it any longer and let out a cold cry. The three of them looked at the large cluster of ancient essence blood in Lin Dong's hand before glancing at the tiny bit on their hands. It was likely that their hearts felt extremely unjustified at this moment. At this moment, those people from around also threw their gazes over due to the unexpected change that occurred. The experts belonging to the 3 large empires locked their eyes onto Lin Dong, while Yuan power surged through their bodies. Little Flame, who also sensed the actions of these people, moved. He appeared in front of the prehistoric demon dragon dog's corpse, before he slammed the heavy rod in his hand down onto the ground. A fierce aura swept apart and caused the expressions of the experts from the 3 large high-ranked empires to change. The 3 of you, this demon dragon dog belongs to no one. Something like this relies on one's ability. Why? Do the 3 of you intend to forcefully snatch it? Lin Dong flipped his hand and kept the demon dragon dog's essence blood into his Qiankun bag. His gaze looked towards the 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts while he spoke with a faint smile. Lin Dong, I know that you are quite powerful. However, this demon dragon dog was killed by all of us together. Yet, you have taken more than half of the reward now. Aren't your actions simply too overboard? A skinny and tall 2UR Nirvana stage expert spoke with a somewhat gloomy expression. That's right, take that demon dragon dog's essence blood out and divide it into 4 portions. All 4 of us will take a portion. What do you say? This time around, the one who spoke was a yellow-clothed man. He glanced at Lin Dong indifferently. Although his words indicated that he was discussing, his tone appeared to be that of an order. Although the fact that Lin Dong had defeated Shakun was sufficient to get these experts to treat him seriously, it did not mean that they were afraid of Lin Dong. They would withdraw a little of their haughtiness when dealing with Lin Dong, but they could not endure Lin Dong turning the tables around on them and acting as though they were nothing. Lin Dong glanced at these 2 people. Based on the conversations that he gleaned from the crowd, Lin Dong was already aware of the origin of these 3 groups of people. The first person was called Song Duan, and the Great Song Empire where he came from was also a high-ranked empire. Furthermore, it was definitely stronger compared to the Devil Cliff Empire. The yellow-clothed man behind him was called Mo Shao, from the Sand Empire. Both their own strength and that of the Sand Empire were at an equal level as the Great Song Empire. The black-clothed man, who was the only one who did not speak up against Lin Dong, was called Peng Fei. He was also no ordinary individual. Lin Dong calmly stared at these 3 people. After which, he laughed softly. This demon dragon dog's essence blood is quite useful towards me. Therefore, I'm afraid that I cannot do what Brother Mo Shao has suggested. Forget about the fact that their tone caused him to be repulsed. There was simply no reason why Lin Dong should have to hand over the items that landed into his lap. Even if the other party had 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts, Lin Dong was still not afraid. After all, he did not believe that the 3 person in front would really fight with him because of this demon dragon dog essence blood. After all, the current Lin Dong was no longer the same as the one who just entered the ancient treasure trove. The eyes of Mo Shao suddenly became a lot gloomier when he heard Lin Dong speaking in such a disrespectful manner. It seemed like he was no longer able to endure any longer and was about to attack. However, his heart unknowingly stopped him after he saw Lin Dong's completely fearless manner. His eyes flashed, but he actually did nothing. The lips of Song Duan and Peng Fei by the side were curled when they saw this situation. However, they did not continue to speak. After all, the 3 of them were not considered allies and their relationship was not considered jovial. Naturally, it was nonsense to talk about joining forces to deal with Lin Dong. The demon dragon essence blood might be rare, but there was not much use beside tempering their own bodies. Hence, it did not seem worthwhile to offend Lin Dong because of it. Although they felt some displeasure in their hearts at Lin Dong's action, that displeasure could only be suppressed by them in the face of Lin Dong's powerful strength. The most important thing is to obtain the inheritance of this 8th-level sect. The many experts around the hall involuntarily glanced at each other as they looked at the atmosphere around the corpse of the demon dragon dog suddenly relaxing. Clearly, they did not expect that these 3 people, who possessed quite a great reputation in this northwestern region, would actually choose to endure in the face of Lin Dong's overbearing actions. It seems like the rumors regarding Lin Dong during this period of time was indeed true. Let's go. Song Duan and the 2 others remained at this place for a moment before they finally clenched their teeth together. Their eyes stared viciously at Lin Dong for a moment before their bodies flashed. Following which, they directly rushed towards that enormous stone hall. Everyone finally recovered their senses after they saw their actions. Some fiery heat rose within their eyes as they looked at this stone hall. After which, they also hurriedly charged over. Lin Dong stood on the corpse of the demon dragon dog. He saw this scene and grinned faintly. This was the benefit brought by strength. If his current strength was still at the same level when he had entered the ancient treasure trove, it was likely that Song Duan and the 2 others would not even give him the right to speak, much less be forced to take a step back in the face of this competition for this demon dragon dog's essence blood. Although part of the reason for this was because they did not think that the demon dragon dog's essence blood was worthwhile for them to expend such a great effort, one could also interpret it as they were afraid of Lin Dong. Let's go, we shall enter and see just what kind of impressive inheritance this 8th-level sect possess. Lin Dong was quite satisfied after having obtained the essence blood from this demon dragon dog. He immediately beckoned his hand towards little Martin. After which, his body moved and swiftly rushed forward. Within a couple of flashes, he had charged into the interior of the enormous hall that had already been broken into by everyone. The interior of the hall was extremely wide. All the corridors crossed each other, causing it to appear just like a maze. The ancient feeling that was accumulated over the years surged over from all directions. At this moment, the originally quiet stone hall was filled with a liveliness as quite a number of people barged into it. Lin Dong and Little Flame also followed a corridor into it. However, they were surprised to find that they could not even find a single nirvana pill along the way, much less any other treasure. The entire large hall was empty. It was as though it had been completely robbed of everything. Could this place have already been raided before we came? Lin Dong once again passed by a stone room. When he saw that empty sight, he finally could not resist as he commented. It will not be so clean even if it has been raided. Little Martin flashed and appeared. It was also surprised at the emptiness of this ancient remains. After which, it voiced its thoughts, could it be that the 8th-level sect did not leave anything behind? Let's head to the main hall and take a look. Lin Dong was similarly unable to provide any answer. This situation was clearly something that he had met for the first time. All he could do was to shake his head helplessly. After which, he upped his speed, followed the corridor and headed to the main hall. Due to the fact that there was nothing desirable along the way, Lin Dong only took approximately 10 minutes before he arrived at the main hall of this 8th-level sect together with Little Flame. Following which, he realized that there were already some people at this place by the time he had arrived. Song Duan and the others were also here. However, their current expressions were quite ugly and there was a faint fury on their faces. Lin Dong's eyes swept around. He looked at the uncertain expressions and lack of understanding on everyone's faces and immediately understood the situation. It seemed like they had not obtained any rewards after entering the 8th-level sect's remains. Damn it, why is this place so empty? Forget about treasure, there isn't even a strand of hair. Could it be that someone has arrived before us? Is that why there is no energy barrier guarding around this remains? Even if someone has arrived before us, this place will not be so clean. Moreover, this place does not look as though someone has broken into in the past. Private conversations sounded within the main hall. Doubt and loss filled the eyes of these people. Lin Dong frowned slightly. From the ancient scent caused by the prolonged period of sealing, it seemed like it had been quite some time since this place was opened. Yet, why was it that all the treasures had disappeared? After a moment of deep thought, Lin Dong suddenly raised his head and looked at this main hall. The main hall was also empty and it did not seem like a unique place. The only thing special about it seemed to be a stone block that stood within the large hall. A stone block? Lin Dong was stunned for a moment. He immediately increased the speed of his footsteps and arrived in front of the stone block. This stone block was neither tall nor large. It quietly stood at the spot, but it possessed a feeling of appearing to be unshakable. There were many traces on the stone block. Lin Dong's eyes looked over and saw three unique things. They were a palm imprint, a fist imprint and a dark black finger hole. Lin Dong's eyes stared intently at the imprints on this stone block. He could vaguely sense a strange fluctuation being emitted from it. There were quite a number of people within the main hall. Hence, Lin Dong's action immediately attracted some attention. Song Duan and the two others were the first to hurry over. Their eyes similarly focused on the three imprints on the stone block immediately. A glint flashed over their eyes. What is this? Mo Shaw was the first to be unable to control himself. His eyes flashed and he was the first to extend his hand and touched a palm imprint on the stone block. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed when he saw this. However, he surprisingly did not say anything. Mo Shaw's hand finally made contact with the palm imprint on the stone block in front of many gazes. In the next instant, everyone saw Mo Shaw's face instantly turning blood red. A loud boom was emitted and his body flew backwards. Finally, it smashed heavily onto the wall of the hall. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. There was a shocked expression that filled his eyes when he raised his head. Hiss! Quite a number of people in the main hall inhaled a breath of air. The people who had originally approached the stone block emitted a shushing sound as they withdrew some distance. What a powerful and fierce fist aura! Lin Dong's eyes also gradually became solemn. They stared intently at the ancient imprint on the stone block. When Mo Shaw had made contact with it earlier, Lin Dong could clearly sense a wild and violent fist aura that caused the skin on his head to turn numb being emitted from within that palm imprint. Only at this moment did Lin Dong finally understood why this remains was so empty. The true inheritance was at this place. This video will end here.